As always, this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a legal, financial, or mental health expert, nor do I claim to be. I'm merely sharing my journey in the hopes that it'll inspire your own. A quick note, the pictures behind me are borrowed from the website listings that I'll talk about in this video, along with the tourism site for the Boca neighborhood in Argentina. I'll put both of those links in the video description box in case you want to check them out. So I was super excited about my first few nights in Argentina, and I'd found the perfect neighborhood to move into, La Boca. It was cute. It had a lot of local mom and pop shops, had great vibes, totally walkable and super vibrant. As I had shared with you on past videos, I came to Argentina inspired to learn how to tango and check out the culture of a country that I'd never visited. I got to the loft that I'd rented through Airbnb, talked to the front desk security guy, and he called to get the owner to come and meet me. The guy who owned it was super nice. I think he owned it. He might have just been the host, but I think he was the owner. He was really nice and he spoke English, and so it made it way easier. He taught me how to use the lock keypad and showed me how to use all the tech in the apartment. It was pretty modern, actually, and shared some great neighborhood information. It couldn't have been easier. I quickly emailed both my sister and my friend with details of my new home. I always like to make sure someone knows where I am in the world, but keep it largely private besides that, once that box is checked. I was thrilled with how cute the loft apartment was. I love places that look like converted industrial buildings, just the architecture of them. And this place really fit the bill for that. I was right next to a little grocery store, which I visited first thing and got myself stocked up. And I knew that I was staying for at least a month and was super happy with my plans. As always, having fast internet and great time changes allowed me to keep coaching easily while I was experiencing my new adventures. Was loving the digital nomad lifestyle. The first couple days started forming my new rhythm in the city, as they usually do. I would take care of my virtual clients and then go exploring. I absolutely loved walking around the city, trying out my broken Spanish, with little shop owners and locals just vibing with the area and the flow of La Boca. Because it was a local neighborhood, I ended up running into a lovely older woman in the building next door, and we had lovely conversations about the neighborhood and life. They were always short because my Spanish was limited, but she was incredibly patient and incredibly lovely every day. She seemed pleased to run into me, as I was to run into her. And it gave me the honor of playing with her dog every day. I'm a huge dog fan. Just don't want them because it kind of curtails the digital nomad life. She made it feel very much like I was home, welcoming every day. I just ran into her at the same time. I don't even know if it was the same time. I just ran into her every day. And it was usually at the tail end of my 10-mile walk, so it was super fun. The other thing that became a daily ritual was spending time at a beautiful park next door to my loft. It had what felt like ancient trees, huge ones. I'm not very good at botany, so they could have been new. Who knows? And I always enjoy spending time in the outdoors. In fact, honestly, I'm the type of person who doesn't need a fancy indoors in my house, despite how beautiful that loft is. But it absolutely needs an outdoor space, which is why my outdoor balcony for the loft fit the bill as well. Anyway, back to the park. I just spent time enjoying some quiet time with the trees and observing daily life of the locals. I just like to observe what it's actually like to live in places. Kids playing soccer, families having barbecues, people walking their dogs, just daily life. The rhythms were pretty soothing. I love checking out new countries, and while the nuances of cultures are always different from each other, I always find myself circling back to the understanding that people all over the world are ultimately just looking for the same things: food, shelter, love, security, you name it. People get so caught up in differences, but at the root of it, we're just all humanity. So I enjoyed hanging with the trees, pontificating about life and its intricacies, just what I needed. And for those of you who are spiritual, for those of you who aren't, just go ahead and skip ahead. While I'm happy to talk about it at a relevant time and space, this is where I experienced what I know now is my first spiritual battle that I'm aware of, complete with connections that I knew, visions of sides and messages that blew me away. I won't really go into the details of it on this video, but it was just out of the blue, and I didn't really know what the heck it was, and it scared me at first. Actually, scared is probably the wrong word. More like, what the hell am I supposed to do, is more accurate. This stuff doesn't really come with a rule book or a dummy's guide to experiences. What I will share, however, is that I found myself doing things that in retrospect were just instinctual. Well, at the time, I didn't really take the time to logic it out. It's really interesting how the 5D world just unfolds, and getting reacquainted of it helps you build your proverbial muscles. I just wanted to share that with those of you who are just earlier in your journey, in case it helps as a wayfinder from any angle for you. Just have faith that you'll know how to handle it, and just use your knowing instead of your logic, as your logic will just make the process harder, as I found out the hard way. I equate it to a kink in the hose. Anyways, at the park, I was honored to meet another woman. I'm guessing she was in her late 80s, and she was super inspiring. She was an artist and would be gracing me with both her presence and her creations daily. I'm always in awe of people who have artistic talents, as they're not really one of my skill sets. I do well to create stick figures. I'm creative, but in a completely different way. We ended up, even without vocalizing out loud, having daily philosophical conversations in the park. I didn't want to interrupt her creations, so I was reticent to approach her at first. But when she wanted to take a break at creating every day, I found that she would be looking for me to have our conversations. We were doing it in Spanish, and so it was fun for me from multiple angles. It allowed me to more practice, taught me a few new words, and intellectually challenged me, both conceptually and logistically. I loved every minute of it. I was even honored when she brought her partner to the park. I don't know if he was her official husband or not, but she wanted him to meet me. I always learn so much from meeting every single new person. I was really enjoying my time in Argentina and was thrilled that I had made the decision to come. I get to drink my strong Cafe Bustelo every morning on the balcony, eased into my day, then took care of my clients, then had my adventures. What else could you ask for? Every day was filled with new incredible interactions, architecture, museums, yummy local food, and local events. Speaking of local events, when the weekend came, I was super excited to go to the streets with lots of vendors selling their handmade wares. If you follow my videos at all, then you already know that street festivals are one of my very favorite things, and this one exceeded my expectations. Each booth was filled with so much color, so many interesting things, and breathtaking art and sculptures. As I made my way down the street, they had music blaring, and there was probably some extra pep in my step, being drawn into the whole experience and just enjoying being there. And then it happened. I talk about manifestation all the time, and the universe came through for me again. I walked up to a vendor that was selling postcards with antique pictures of the neighborhood and started to talk to the owner. He too was in his late 80s, wearing a stylish hat, and just had the coolest vibe ever. You could tell he was self-assured, kind, debonair, and you could probably tell he had been a heartbreaker in his heyday, as he was still a good-looking man. Anyway, I started to talk to him, and in our conversation, shared, because he asked, what had inspired me to visit. Before I even finished my sentence, he sprung out of his chair with the speed of a 20-year-old and started to do the tango with me in the middle of a street festival. Had it been anybody else, it might have been off-putting. Not to mention I don't have any rhythm and don't know what the hell I'm doing. But he was so charming and so pleased with himself. All he did was make me laugh. At the end of the song, he did a funny little bow and sat back down. It was a whirlwind that caught me up in so much fun, and it had been a long time since I had felt that way. As soon as he sat down, he insisted that I let him teach me how to tango. When I told him I was going to find a teacher and I couldn't impose on him, he vigorously declined. He wasn't pushy about it, but he was very firm that he wanted to teach me. As we talked about it, I found out he was a world champion. He broke out the old articles and pictures, and we talked about it for just about an hour, just him regaling me with his old stories about his worldwide travels. I just sat on the curb and talked to him. He was so excited to teach me that I couldn't decline. I knew it was an incredible honor to learn from the best, and he clearly was the best. In finding out that he had started a nonprofit for disabled kids that was inspired by his granddaughter cinched it for me. I knew he was meant to teach me, and I knew I was going to have a great time learning it. We made plans for the following week to start, and I headed back to my loft. I always joke with my friends that the universe gives you a biscuit, kind of like training a puppy when it's pleased with you. And I felt like I had just been given a whole box of dog biscuits. Love it when the stars are aligned. Another highlight at the park again was when all of a sudden I started hearing horns blazing, people yelling, and cars zooming by. I went to overlook the edge of the park to see what was so loud and going on, and found myself getting a front row seat to the festivities celebrating the national soccer team on its way to a big game. Not only did I get to see the team, but hundreds, literally hundreds of cars and buses following them and celebrating on their way to cheer them on. It was so unexpected and so much fun getting to see the culture and the stars celebrated. What a blast. I find that every time I travel, I end up getting to experience something like that really celebrates the people and the culture in a big way. That's why I don't make plans when I travel. Well, honestly, I just don't like planning when I travel because it's spontaneous fun. But it actually adds to the mix of why I don't plan when I travel. It allows for surprises, experiences that you would never expect and wouldn't be included in your plans if you made them. As I went back to the loft for the night, I remember thinking how lucky I was to get to live the life that I always wanted to live and experience so many people from so many different walks of life. And I realized that I was totally in the present flow, loving the small moments of abundance that continually were happening, and was filled with so much joy. I couldn't wait for the rest of the month to unfold. Thanks for being with me today, and have a great week. Until next time, take care.